Hello, everyone, and welcome into a grip-locked emergency press conference, kind of. We got an update here because we just wanted to react to the 2025 Pro Tour schedule. It just dropped, and boy, is it juicy. There's some very big staple events missing. You'll notice probably the greatest finishing event of all time, Pro Tour Championship in our hometown, Lynchburg, Virginia. That's a massive announcement.
Yes.
So we're going to kind of just go over the schedule, and you'll get our initial gut reaction. This just posted, we got the press release like 5 minutes ago. We've had time to digest it enough to know kind of what we're talking about, get our feelers out there, but we'll run through it.
It's still very knee-jerk reaction.
It's very knee-jerk
I haven't
reaction.
processed a lot
I haven't
yet.
really fully read through it. So 10th season kickoff. This is also the 10th season. They have a lot of merch. One thing, actually, before we get into it, they're bringing season passes in, which I think is a very good idea because you'll have several people
Let's
that
look at the pricing,
can make it to a few different events, especially like
here.
USDGC Pro Tour Championship. They're within a few hours of each other.
So here's
you could also Idlewild's only a few hours from this area. So
here's
there's
the
going to be
pricing.
several people there.
Here's the pricing. So one general admission ticket to all Pro Tour events, plus one VIP ticket and two of them your choice. $300 to go to any single one.
That's not terrible.
Well, the only problem is your max potential was probably 3 for most people.
Yeah, no, it depends.
Yeah.
It depends a lot on like for me, that would get me into USDGC, the Tour Championship, and then if I wanted to travel to one or two. But you will have some people that I'm sure end up at like the Midwest Swing and stuff like that.
Then
You'll
they're
have some people that
doing
go a lot.
so one VIP to 4 events for $699, and then one gold pass to 3 events for $1,300. So my gut reaction is I was thinking I think by pricing the general admission one of that, I was hoping it was going to be like a go to 3 events for
that's
$100 or whatever that would make sense. Instead, they priced it where like yes, if you went to
You have to go to a lot of events.
a lot of events to pay for that. Yeah.
But you'll have some people that's for. It's not for. They should definitely do some more bundling. Though you should have like honestly, you should have like buy tickets to the entire West Coast Swing or something. I don't know.
I'd be curious to see like they're talking about more add-ons that you'll get as a pass member. So I'm curious to see where that will.
Maybe it comes with free DGN for the year.
That would be cool.
That could be a good addition.
That would be cool.
So the season's going to kick off. 10th season kickoff the first weekend of March, February 28th through March 2nd in Florida. We'll then move over to the Waco Annual Charity Open, which is not a plus event anymore. They made the Open at Austin the next weekend a plus event. Notable miss from Texas is Texas State's. That's gone. So 2 weekends in Texas. I think everyone will be happy there.
Yeah.
Then we go over to the Music City Open a little bit earlier this year, I believe, April 4th through 6th. And then you have the Kansas City Wide Open. Notable miss there, DDO.
Yes.
GBO, DDO, all of that. It's been on tour for a long, long time. It's not on tour here. What is interesting is they did announce that they're planning on bringing that and a few other events we'll get to in a second that are also missing back in 2026, which is introducing us to a rotating schedule, which, again, I'm a fan of because I think that it'll give you an opportunity. Like they have the Kansas City Wide Open. That's going to be a new Pro Tour demographic. That's been a very big event for a while, but that's a new, I think it was an NT previously.
It wouldn't surprise
me. But
me.
then you have these events that they're rotating every other year. It's a little bit more urgency to get to that event because you might not know. Maybe it's 3 years till you see it again.
Well, yeah, and I mean, at least for DDO, maybe the play is like they're kind of building out that Champions Landing property. So maybe they're like, a year off, it gives us time that the next time we go back, it'll look completely different. So, yeah, It is. I'm always excited to see new things, especially when they're new old things like KC Wide Open. This is the 43rd one.
Yeah.
It used to be a staple on the national tour, so it's cool to I think we know what to expect from DDO. It doesn't blow people away. I don't think people get super psyched about it. I think introducing new events in place of ones like that are good. Now, I will say Jonesboro, I think, is pretty well liked. So I think that one will
That's
be
the next one
interesting
that's gone,
to see.
yeah. Jonesboro Open, played again Jonesboro Open. That's also one that they took off that's coming back in 2026. I do like the fact of like the Kansas City Wide Open, and we have a few other new events. We'll talk about those in a second. They do give an opportunity to the viewer of just like a fresh thing. Because like there's Kansas City Wide Open coverage, but we haven't had a full field there in a long time.
Yeah.
We've had a solid field as an A tier, and it might have been a Q series.
It was a Q series this year.
So we've had a solid field, but we haven't had a full field there. So that'll be like a breath of fresh air to the point that like when we get back to DDO, you'll probably kind of miss it a little bit.
Yeah.
It'll at least give you some time to let it breathe there. So like we said, Jonesboro Open is the next one that's off. That's a pretty big hit to the schedule as far as like notable tournaments go. And then we start the West Coast swing, which will also kind of coincide with the start of the Europe swing. They're still doing that, where you'll have several weeks in the middle of this West Coast, Midwest stretch where you're in. Some pros are going to be over there. Some pros are going to be in the West Coast.
Basically, we'll just call this the wounded FPO field stretch.
Yeah. So I'll read what's the West Coast. I just got something in my eye. The West Coast and the Midwest stretch first, and then we'll read the Europe stretch. But just remember date-wise, these kind of, oh my gosh, it's deep in my eye. These kind of go back and forth. First off, we have the first major of the year, May 1st through the 4th, Champions Cup. This is going to be the Champions Cup with an asterisk.
It's really
in
weird
place of the
majors.
OTB Open because it's at the same place. So that's in Stockton, California. So no OTB Open because you have Champions Cup. So not going to feel like Champions Cup by any means. Still don't like that decision, but that's when that weekend is. Then you go to the Cascade Challenge, which is another Q event that got upgraded to a full event.
And it was a silver.
I think it was a silver before that.
Yeah.
So that's in Washington. And then the next Elite Plus event is now called the Northwest Disc Golf Championship. It's in Portland. I would assume that's at the Portland Open courses, or it might be Beaver State courses. I don't know.
I'm wondering if they...
It's got to be... It's in Portland, Oregon. I think they would have put Eugene if it was
Well,
Beaver
as I'm
State.
saying, I'm wondering, they're not super far away. It would be a bit experimental, but I'm wondering if we could see a Glendoveer and Milo hybrid.
Well, I wonder if we could also see... Wasn't it Blue Lake back in the day?
Yeah, I'm curious to see what they end up doing with that.
But that's a plus event. So plus event does typically
I'm sure
mean
they'll
two
go
courses.
Glendoveer.
But not always.
Yeah.
So that's the West Coast swing, and then the Midwest swing. The Preserve is still there. That's one I honestly expected to be gone.
If they were going to Glendoveer, though, they just wouldn't have called it. They wouldn't have rebranded it, I don't think.
I don't know.
It's
interesting.
Yeah.
The Preserve, that's one I expected to be gone. That's in June
still
13th. Then you have U.S. Women's in June 19th. That could be a redeeming factor of, like, that'll hold the European women here a little bit longer.
Yeah.
That sounds like we're holding them hostage, but it'll probably make the West Coast swing at least have a stronger field because they're not missing a major.
There's a week off, and that's probably intentional to give after the and we'll get to this in a second, but after the Ale Open in Sweden, there's a week for them to travel in, and then another week for them to travel back out to Europe. So they gave them a cushion.
Time. Yeah. So you have the U.S. Women's there, and then Des Moines Challenge is the next week, and that takes you through June. Now, if we go over to the European Summer, it actually starts in May 23rd at Konopiste. That's back on the schedule. Was a major in 2018. Eagle McMahon's major win. Then we go to the Ale Open in Sweden in June 6th through the 8th. Then we have the PCS Open. That's been a tour event, July 4th through the 6th. Then we have the Krokol Open, July 11th through the 13th. And then we have the two European majors here back-to-back.
Yeah.
Inevitable. I hate it.
Yeah.
We have the European Disc Golf Festival, July 17th through 20th, and then Pro Worlds, July 30th through August 3rd.
Yeah.
I hate that we have 10 days separating two majors.
It is going to basically mean it's going to take the sting out of both of them. Well, I mean, I think
it'll take the sting a lot more out of European Disc Golf Festival, I think.
Yeah, after Worlds, yeah. But at that point, we will be like really anxious for another major because it'll have been a couple months. But yeah, this is going to be a really weird season for majors because we're starting off with the Champions Cup that doesn't feel like a Champions Cup when it was just finally starting to build an identity. Then we go to a course that I'm not really sure is suited for a major. I'm sure it'll be fine. It'll be fun enough to watch. But it's going to come. It's a major, but it's not the European Open. It's just kind of like,
and then we basically go to the European Open.
And then we basically go to that, and it's Worlds. It's very confusing. Thank goodness for USDGC to cap off the year because we needed that because the rest of these majors are going to be one that we look back in trivia questions and have a tough time answering.
I would have really preferred if they would have put that European Disc Golf Festival in like that Ale Open slot or the PCS slot.
You know, why didn't they?
It's just because there's Midwest swings going on there.
Well,
I think it's because they didn't want
even put it where PCS is.
I think they didn't want U.S. pros to have to either spend a month in Europe or go back and forth. I mean, they wanted people like, oh, this is you can spend 2 weeks in Europe and play two majors.
It's not,
but it just sucks for fans at home.
It's not
because like you're gonna have back-to-back majors, boom, boom. If someone gets hot on that stretch, they could literally just win two majors in 2 weekends.
Yeah, what I can tell you about the back, like we always kind of have a backloaded schedule, but this year in particular, like once you get to that point in the schedule, it's just bang.
It's heavy hitters.
Like it's crazy.
Because then we have the Turku Open the week after that, and then everyone's back to the States at Ledgestone, and you have Ledgestone, which is a plus event. Then you have Idlewild. And then you go to the Great Lakes Open, also a plus event. And then you start the East Coast Finish, which is all the playoffs. So you have the first playoff event at Green Mountain. Then you have MVP Open. Then you go down to the major at USDGC. And then you come home, Lynchburg, Virginia, Pro Tour Championship. It will be interesting.
So
historically, you've seen the Pro Tour Championship be on one course. Worlds this year, obviously, next week is on New London and Ivy. Ivy holds better spectator-wise, so
They'll
I would
probably do it
imagine it's
Ivy.
just going to be Ivy the whole
Yeah.
time because I don't think that format doesn't. Well, with the score following you and if you did no cut, it could be at both courses.
Yeah, they could. I don't know what their plan is.
I like both courses. I think both courses challenge
They
players
they
from
might
all
also
angles.
just be waiting to see what happens at Worlds too.
Yeah.
And how it all goes down.
But we are
Crazy.
super excited about the Pro Tour Championship coming to Lynchburg,
have-
Virginia.
that'll be
Obviously, we're excited about Worlds
such
in
a
like
fun
5
event.
days,
Well,
but
especially
hopefully we put a good show on this next week and at Pro Tour Championship. We can keep it.
Yeah. Well, we're so super spoiled because we get 2 events that like the best part of the field is guaranteed to show up
Within 3 hours of us.
Yeah. Well, and I'm just saying, well, even in our count this year and next year, because like a lot of these cities, especially if you get stuck in the middle of that Europe swing, you're just not going to see certain players. But yeah, 2 events in 2 years where we get to see everybody. So that is pretty neat.
Yeah, so the big takeaways, the finish in Lynchburg, Virginia, that's a selfish big takeaway. And then some notable tournaments missing, Jonesboro and DDO being the 2 most notable. Also Beaver State Fling, not on that schedule. It wouldn't surprise me if some of those
here it
turned
is.
into
Here it
Q.
is. Here it is. It is written in here. The Northwest will have combined Milo and Glendoveer.
There you go.
Yeah.
So Trevor's right. Nailed it on the head.
Yeah.
So that's where Beaver State goes. Milo will be a part of that. I'll like that tournament a lot more, I think.
And it's serving as a prelude to a future PDGA World Championship bid currently in development.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
That's fun, too.
The first 2 rounds will be held at Riverbend Gold at Milo. The last 2 will take place at Glendoveer.
Okay.
Pretty
so
neat.
there you have it. Let us know in the comments down below what surprised you the most about
That
this
event's gonna be
schedule.
sick.
This is our gut reaction. We'll have time to digest it, get some more opinions, and bring you a more full, thorough breakdown on Grip Locked on Monday. We'll see you there.